The classic gangster genre of films has given us many iconic movies in the past, including but not limited to Goodfellas, Scarface, Casino, and of course, the Godfather trilogy. The gangsters in these films are not exactly the friendliest kind of people, and even though it's cool to watch these people do what they do, the average person would not want to associate themselves with any of these criminals. The actions of a lot of these characters are very violent, morally wrong, and not admirable at all. There's one gangster out of them all that does stand out from the rest, and even though he is still a criminal, he is the most honorable one. I am of course referring to the Godfather himself, Vito Corleone. Vito definitely has the most tragic backstory out of all iconic gangsters, which we actually do see in the second Godfather film. It's mainly in this movie that we also see just how humble and honorable Vito is compared to the likes of someone like Tony Montana from Scarface or Tommy from Goodfellas. For the sake of this video, I'm going to present Vito's life in chronological order. That way, not only will it be an easier video to watch, but that way I don't have to jump back and forth between the first two Godfather movies. That would get a little bit tedious and annoying. Obvious spoiler warning here. If you haven't seen the Godfather 1 or 2, this is not the video for you, and I wouldn't want to be the one to spoil these amazing films for somebody. So yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So chronologically, the first time that we meet Vito is at the age of 9 during his father's funeral march in Corleone, Italy. His father was killed off screen sometime before part 2 begins over an insult to the local mafia boss Don Ciccio. During this march, shots ring out in the distance, dispersing the crowd, and it turns out that these shots were actually Vito's older brother, Paolo, being killed. Paolo had run off after their father's death to get revenge for the family, which only results in his death. We instantly feel bad and empathize with young Vito here, but it only gets worse. His mother takes him with her to Don Ciccio's house and begs him to spare her only child left, promising that he won't avenge his father or his brother. When Ciccio refuses though, Vito's mother takes him as a human shield and tells Vito to run, and her bravery saves him but results in her death.
No.
Ti si muove l'ammazzo!
Fermi!
Vattene, figlio!
Figliolo!
Figlio, vattene!
Ammazzatelo! Ammazzatelo!
With nowhere left to go, Vito leaves Corleone and takes passage on a ship on its way to America all by himself and without speaking a word of English. His entire family being murdered is awful and makes us root for Vito for the rest of the movie, and from a storytelling standpoint, I'm going to say it's pretty smart that they started off the movie with this. The next time that we see Vito, he's a grown man and he's married. He has already had his first child, Sonny, and is working at a grocery store run by the family that took him in when he first arrived to America. When Don Fanucci, a local mafioso big shot, comes in and basically orders the store owner to give his nephew a job, Vito has to be let go. When the owner tells him the bad news, Vito doesn't respond with anger or frustration. Instead, he accepts it for what it is and tells the owner how grateful he is for everything he has done for him. When Vito walks out, the store owner tries to give him a crate full of groceries, to which Vito declines to take, showing us how humble he is.
Vito!
No.
Portici chi sta tuo figlio.
Ringrazio lo stesso.
Per favore, Vito.
Ringrazio lo stesso, ma non lo posso accettare.
E per tua famiglia.
Non ci cade, capire.
Per favore, Vito.
No.
Later on, when Vito has already met Tessio and Clemenza, Don Fanucci comes back into the picture and threatens Vito to give him some of the money they have made from hijacking trucks. Now this is the point where Vito decides to take out Fanucci, and rightfully so. Fanucci is not a good man at all and extorts businesses owned by Italian immigrants who don't have much, and basically terrorizes his own people for no real good reason. The murder of Fanucci is one of 2 murders we see Vito commit, and yes, murder is wrong, and yes, this video is saying how honorable Vito is and how different he is to other gangsters, but it's justified and he does it for the better of his people and his neighborhood.
Dove vai?
After killing Don Fanucci, Vito becomes the boss of the neighborhood, but not in the same way. He doesn't extort or intimidate innocent people for money, but instead helps people out with favors and is friendly to them, which earns him their loyalty and their respect. The reason he does favors for people is because it's a better way to get them on his side instead of being a big bully like Fanucci was. Now, the second person that Vito decides to kill is Don Ciccio from the beginning of the movie. Vito goes back to Italy to get revenge for his family that was murdered all those years ago. He goes to Ciccio's home and finds an elderly Ciccio sitting in his throne-like chair and puts an end to him by stabbing him. Now, right off the bat, this murder is well-deserved and easily justifiable. Don Ciccio had Vito's brother, father, and mother killed, two of them in the same day, and is the reason why Vito had to flee from Italy. So, I don't even have to say anything else. It's easily justified.
Tuo padre, come si chiama?
Io si chiama Antonio Andolini.
È più forte, non si sento buono. Avvicinati.
Mio padre si chiama Antonio Andolini e questo è Bazzi.
Figlio di puttana! Che succede?
So that concludes the part 2 segment of this video. Now let's move on to Vito in the first Godfather. We meet him in the opening scene as he is talking to the Undertaker, Bonacera. At the end of the scene, Vito agrees to help him with a favor, and a little later he also helps Nazarene, the baker. This shows us that Vito is kind, generous, and understanding, and with the context from part 2, it tells us that despite becoming a very powerful Don, Vito still does favors for people all these years later, showing us how humble he is and that he hasn't forgotten how he got his start in the first place. Another part of Vito that makes him an honorable man is his unwillingness to get involved with narcotics. He turns down the business deal with Sollozzo even though it would have made the Corleone family a lot of money. Not agreeing to Sollozzo's deal would have also made the Corleones the outcast group of the 5 mafia families of New York, but Vito stands his ground on the matter and still refuses the business of narcotics, stating that it is a dirty business. Unfortunately though, Vito keeping his honor and turning down Sollozzo's deal is essentially the reason he is shot later on. If he had accepted the deal, obviously Sollozzo would have no reason to kill him. 2 button men are sent to do the job and end up shooting Vito 5 times in the back. Okay, before I move on to the next thing, I just have to say something really quick. Vito is fucking goated. This man is a champ. This is the most gangster shit I have ever seen in a movie. This man got shot 5 times, close range, to the back. And he survives. He recovers just fine. Later on when he comes back into the movie, he's like walking around and stuff. He recovers just fine. This man is a champ. He took this like a champ. Name another gangster in any other movie who gets shot like this. You can't. All the other gangsters, they get shot like 1 time and die. This man got shot 5 times and survived. This man is the GOAT. My bad. Got a little carried away there. I just had to say it. I had to say it. I'm sorry. I don't care. Later on, when Sonny is massacred at the toll booth, Vito finds out about this from Tom Hagen. This crushes Vito as he tries to hold back his tears, learning that his firstborn son has just been killed. But then he goes on to do a very honorable thing. Instead of asking Tom Hagen to find out who did it and to get revenge for his fallen son, Vito takes the high road. He tells Hagen not to arrange any acts of vengeance and to call in a peace meeting with the heads of the 5 families. Now, the fact that he lets go of the death of Sonny is just crazy to me, and a lot of other gangsters would have taken revenge if a son of theirs got killed, but Vito maneuvers the situation in a smart and respectable way instead, and this just further separates him from other gangsters.
They shot Sonny on the causeway. He's dead. no inquiries made. I want no acts of vengeance. I want you to arrange a meeting with the heads of the 5 families. This war stops now.
So the last thing I want to talk about in this video is Vito's death. Now, his cause of death isn't the most peaceful, but the circumstances in which he dies are great, if you ask me. If in his final scene, we find an older Vito in his backyard spending time with his grandson. He then starts to play with them in the garden, and Vito's running around, laughing and smiling, like very childlike. And this is when he has a heart attack and collapses, dying right then and there. But the last thing we ever see Vito do is spending time with family, which was something that he always lived by and that was very important to him. Now, to emphasize my point, name another gangster who goes out like this. You cannot. This has got to be the most wholesome gangster death I've ever seen in any gangster movie. This man dies spending time with his grandson. That is fucking beautiful. That is wholesome, man. That is amazing. Every other gangster in every other fucking movie, they either get shot or they end up in prison by the end of their movie. Not Vito, man. This man is different. Like, there's actually times where I watch this movie and the scene comes on and I genuinely tear up. Because this shit is so damn wholesome. Like, look at him. He's laughing and smiling. Like, look at him. He's living his best life. Now, dying of a heart attack can't be the most painless death. But still, like, at least he didn't get shot. And he did get shot, but he survived. So, fuck, man. Vito's the GOAT. He's the greatest gangster of all time. I do not care. So if you made it to the end of this video, thanks for watching. I'm not sure when my next Godfather related video will be up next, because I'm kind of out of ideas right now. But I do have another video planned on another movie, so stay tuned for that. Go ahead and follow my Instagram page if you're not one of the people that already follows it. I've low-key been going off on that page. I've done like 4 reviews in the span of 2 weeks. So yeah, I did the 2 Godfathers, I did Heat, I did Taxi Driver just recently. So if you want to see me, like, talk about movies and stuff and review them, go check that out. Subscribe for more content like this, and I'll catch y'all later.